Welcome back to Intens-afi Podcast. Each week, I get on here to discuss various aspects of my life and see if I can come to any conclusions about them. If you see, it is pretty much like self-reflection, but out loud. This is bound to be entertaining, right? Let's get on with this week's topic. Melbourne, as you know it, is in week 3 of lockdown number 2. And there are going to be 3 more weeks of this. You know what this means? You know what this lockdown has become? It's become the survival of the fittest. And when I say fittest, I mean mentally fit. Naturally, if you're in lockdown for 5 months, and with 3 more weeks, it's almost half of the year, it's going to have some adverse effects. Even homebodies such as myself are finding this frustrating. I can't even begin to imagine how it has been for people who live to be out and about in, adventures and partying and all of that. To keep me sane, I got myself into a lot of things these past few months. I got into cooking. This meant no takeouts and definitely no eating outside. I got back into baking and reading. Fortunately, between the 2 lockdowns, when we had 2 weeks of freedom, I happened to go to the local library and check out a few books, and I've been reading all of them till now, so that's been fun. I also got into bullet journaling and thought journaling. I even started my own blog, finally, after procrastinating forever. I even indulged in some crafts. I made an origami rabbit. I'm super proud of it even now. Then there was one thing that definitely stood out through all this, and that's having a routine. Yes, I know how it sounds, but I really enjoyed having a routine. This happened after I was bound to my room and not when I was out in the open, going to university, work or whatever. I got into having a structure to my day, every single day. This is how my day went about during lockdown number 1. So I would wake up every day by 7:15 a.m, listen to some uplifting music. This was when even my eyes refused to open. I was even struggling to see what's on the screen to select the song, it was just hard. While I was doing this, I made it a point to not check my notification. After this, I would read some good news, which basically meant just reading all that's good in the world. I absolutely refused to read all the negatives. So no corona update, nothing about the war, and nothing about death and crimes. I even stopped listening to my crime podcast that I was so obsessed with around that time. Now, this went on for about 2 to 3 months. So I lived my denial life at its best for those 2-3 months without reading up about what's actually happening in the world. Now that I had a good feeling about the day, I would go get my coffee. Mind you, this was peak winter and even waking up seemed like such a drag, and I had to get out of my room and feel the breeze in the kitchen when I was making my coffee. That was such a pain. I would come back to my room after this and put on some guided meditation and follow this with some morning yoga. Both of them followed a particular theme. So if I needed to feel energized, I would get into energized themed guided meditations and follow it with energizing yoga. And if I needed any concentration for something in the later hour, I would go for focus-based meditation and yoga. You know the pattern, you know what I'm talking about. Everything has a pattern, everything has a structure. And all of this happened before 9 a.m. Mind you, okay, this was not me. Earlier, 9 a.m. was my deep sleep time. It was middle of the night for me. Probably even like a 3rd cycle of REM sleep or something. So, you know what I'm trying to say. It was middle of the night for me, basically. Now at 9 a.m. I would put on some podcasts, particularly around mindset. And while this was playing in the background for me, I would get some bullet journaling and journal prompts done. I really enjoy journaling. Now, depending on the day, I would either attend my uni on Zoom or indulge myself in some more arts and crafts. And around 12 p.m., I would have my first meal of the day. And back then I was following intermittent fasting, and I know different people have very different opinions about this, but I for one found it beneficial. Eating it in a certain time window didn't leave any scope for random time hunger pangs, and it also gave a structure to my eating patterns. And while I ate in that 8 to 9 hour window, remaining time I survived on coffee and my favorite lemon ginger tea. Talking about all that's good and things that happened to me during the lockdown when having a routine was I slept for 7 to 8 hours every single day. This was a great deal for me because for years I struggled with sleep. I even started a skincare routine, and my skin thanks me for it even now. Seriously, true story. While I wanted to have a nighttime routine, I just stuck to sleep time stories that put us to sleep because of its monotonous narration tone. And that's definitely not what I'm trying to do here. And if you happen to sleep, then I really need to recategorize this podcast. Then, all in all, what I'm trying to say is having a routine helped me stay sane. Now that's something missing in this lockdown. I do have an explanation why this is happening, So what happened with lockdown number 1 is that I had hope and even a structure, if you may, that this is going to end in said months, and after that life is going to go back to normal. And Victorian news updates even set to that thought process, and we even had a chance to end the lockdown earlier. This made the lockdown, social distancing, even the routine so much sense and actually worth it as well. But when the lockdown 2 was announced and even extended for a further 6 weeks, this got a little hard. This got me thinking, how much more of this? Even having a routine didn't make sense anymore. It does get frustrating, especially when it's open everywhere else, including other states in the country, and we are still bound to our homes and the 5 kilometer radius. But maybe by having a routine again in my life, I can trick my brain to think that there's still hope after all, that this is going to come to an end soon, and that my 2020 planner won't go to waste after all. That's about it for today. Tell me about what you think about lockdowns and routines, and if you had a routine during your lockdown, what was it and what was the end price? For me and many of the Victorian residents, it's just to keep ourselves sane. That's the ultimate goal, ultimate prize. And you can listen to this podcast on Anchor, Spotify, Pocket Casts, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, and if you happen to listen to this elsewhere, do let me know. If you do want to get in touch with me, you can do so by searching Typewriter Towns on the browser. Here's me bidding my goodbye after some shameless self-promotion. Talk to you next week.